Good evening, and I'd like to call to order the June 21st, 2010 meeting of the Los Gatos Town Council. This is an excellent time for you to turn your phone off or to turn it on to vibrate. Could we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Mike Wasserman.
Here.
Councilmember Steve Rice.
Here.
Councilmember Barbara Spector.
Here.
Vice Mayor Joe Krasinski.
Here.
Mayor and Chair Diane McNutt.
Here. As you know, at the start of each meeting, we have a Future Leaders program, and this is an opportunity for us to find in our community young people who are already exhibiting signs of leadership, who we think are going to be future mayors, perhaps, and to have them come and help us with the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'd like to have Emma Fallside, who's a fourth grader at Dave's Avenue Elementary, come up, and while she's coming up, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Emma, other than that she has on a beautiful purple dress. Looks great tonight. Emma's favorite subject is reading. She's not so fond of math. Her teacher entered her into a poetry contest last year, and her poem won an honorable mention and was published. She loves to read and visits the Los Gatos Library frequently. She does ballet and has danced twice in Two Nutcrackers and danced the roles of Angels and Snowflake. She's very good at sewing. She likes to make dolls and clothing for stuffed toys. She likes to sing, dance, and swim, and she's a yellow belt in Taekwondo. She's excited about summer camp. Yes? Okay. And she will ride horses, swim, and do rock climbing. So would you please stand and join Emma in the Pledge of Allegiance? Whenever you're ready. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Applause for Emma, please. And Emma has and her family have permission to leave. They do not have to stay here for the entire council meeting if they don't want to. We also have a proclamation this evening, and I'd like to have John Lochner, former mayor, former council member. I don't know what your official capacity is with the Billy Jones Wildcat Railroad, except volunteer extraordinaire. Does that sound right?
About everything.
Yeah, okay.
Everything from driving nails to fighting with the county.
Yeah, well, okay. Another story at another time. And we have a proclamation tonight that I'm going to have John hold up while I read it. Extraordinarily special time. Whereas July 10th, 2010 marks the celebration of the 100th anniversary of the W.E. Bill Mason Carousel. And whereas in 1980, the carousel was purchased using $50,000 in donations, and in 1991 was named after Bill Mason Sr. of Billy Jones Wildcat Railroad fame. And whereas over the past 100 years, the carousel has taken an adventurous voyage around the world, beginning with its manufacture in England in 1910 and its journey around the Horn of South America to be featured in the 1915 World's Fair in San Francisco, followed by a stint with a traveling circus. And whereas the carousel is in the beautiful condition it is in today because of 10 years of loving restoration involving renovations to the hand-painted wooden horses, redesigning the mechanics, the addition of paintings by local artists that line internal panels, and the construction of the carousel building by volunteers. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Diane McNutt, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the town of Los Gatos, do deem it appropriate and do hereby proclaim July 10th, 2010 as W.E. Bill Mason Carousel Day within the town of Los Gatos, and urge all residents to share in the appreciation of such a worldly treasure on its 100th anniversary. Congratulations.
I'm sure you've all seen the brochures around. I believe we have some at the town hall. If Jackie, we have a lot of these up at the desk. Yes. This kind of explains both the railroad and the carousel. And on July 10th, we're going to celebrate the 100th birthday of the carousel. So it's quite an event for us. It's been a lot of work in restoring the carousel. You know, it took 10 years to do it from 1980 into almost 1991 when it was finally put into service. So it's a great piece of work. It's traveled around the world to get here, and we're pretty proud of it. And we would like to invite all of you and council members. You get a free ride. But we do have a donation box as well. But I would leave this for you, Diane.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And thank you so very much.
Appreciate it.
I don't have to stay away.
You also may be excused. Okay, let's see. I will return to my seat for the next part. It's graceful. Okay, next on the agenda will be appointments to openings on boards, commissions, and committees. And I'm going to have Jackie Rose, our clerk administrator, lead us through the process.
Good evening. Tonight I will be announcing the boards, commissions, and committees, along with the number of vacancies and the number of applicants who have applied to each commission. I will then ask for a vote by show of hands for each applicant. Once council has completed that vote, I will recap the vote count and move to the next applicant. Once we have completed that, I will announce who is appointed to that position, and then we will go on to the next commission. After we've done that process, council may direct staff to re-advertise any open positions. Okay? Any questions? Okay. The first commission is the Arts and Culture Commission. There is one vacancy and one applicant. The applicant is Ed Beliza. May I have a vote by show of hands? Okay, there's two. And that means that that applicant would not be reappointed or appointed, so that's vacant. The next one is the General Plan Committee. There's one applicant and one vacancy. The applicant is Todd Jarvis. May I ask for a vote? That's 5. So Todd Jarvis will be appointed to the General Plan Committee. The next commission is the Parks Commission. There is one vacancy and 2 applicants. The first applicant is Sandy Gordon. Okay, that's 5. The second applicant is Melanie Hansen. That's 0. So Sandy Gordon will be reappointed to the Parks Commission. The last commission is the Transportation and Parking Commission. There is one applicant and one vacancy. The applicant is Melanie Hansen. So it's 5 votes. So Melanie Hansen will be appointed to the Transportation and Parking Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Rose, can you remind me when we start the normal recruitment process? Isn't it pretty soon for the normal cycle?
Yes, I start advertising the end of July. We advertise and we open it, well, it actually could be open now, but we start the recruitment at the end of July, and interviews will be held at the end of October.
So, Council, I'm thinking that we just fold these remaining openings into the normal process unless you see a reason to try to do a fast track. Okay, great.
Okay,
Give
thank
the
you.
direction you need? All right, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who applied, whether you were appointed or not, and we appreciate your interest and hope that you will keep wanting to be involved in the town of Los Gatos. Next, we have closed session report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The council held a special meeting on Tuesday, June 15th, and held a closed session for the purpose of the evaluative process that goes into selecting a town attorney. There was no action taken at that meeting.
Thank you. Next on the agenda would be council matters. Any council matters this evening? Seeing none, manager matters.
Yes, Mayor and Council, we have 3 items before we get to the Did You Know. First, Music in the Park started yesterday, the summer series with staff support under the new leadership and production of Los Gatos Music and the Arts. And we appreciate their efforts to make that continuing to be a successful series. Second, as we all know, Los Gatos is a wonderful place to live, work, and play, and occasionally now it's a wonderful place to party as well. So I had the fortune of riding with our police shift Saturday night from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. to see what downtown is like, and I'm just pleased to say that the proactive efforts of the police department to work with our local businesses and their customers seems to be making a change already, and that businesses are trying to come into compliance with the laws that they operate under, and we will continue to work with them to encourage them to do so for the safety and betterment of our community. Third, we had a wonderful event today, a once-in-a-generation, and due to the good efforts of photographers Peter Carter and Tom Jacobs, I'd like to take a few moments to share some of those images with you and with anybody who may be watching on KCAT, though the whole ceremony is viewable on KCAT periodically as well. So hopefully the technology works. I may need you to click Stephanie. So this is the once-in-a-generation library groundbreaking that the mayor announced at her State of the Town 2 weeks ago. If you keep pushing the right arrow, thank you. This was the design the council previously approved, and the invitation is on the next slide. That was sent out by the mayor and council, and we were overwhelmed with a tremendous turnout. 250 library lovers showed up to enjoy the festivities this morning, and we were blessed with some panorama images that showed the whole setup that, in light of the recent plein air exhibit, was converted digitally to a watercolor image. Next. The mayor and council led the way with not only their leadership over the years, but with remarks by the mayor. Parthenia Hicks is our new poet laureate who unveiled her new poem as the ground opens up, and we do have copies for the council as well. We were also entertained both at the beginning and end and during the program by Los Gatos High musicians, this one being Purusaku. And then we lined up for the dig. The other speakers during the program included the Friends of the Library chair and the chair of the library board, as well as Assistant Town Manager Pamela Jacobs. The commission and Friends members are on either side of the council. In the front are the 4 youth who were selected by the library to participate in the dig, and the key staff supporting the project are in the back row. So after lining up, we then got ready to dig, and the kids were a little anxious, and you'll see this becomes a continuing theme. It was then smile time for the cameras, and the kids are too busy. We continued and actually did the dig, and you can't really see the dirt flying in front of the kids, but they were trying to throw it far. Continuing on, the kids kept on digging, and digging, and digging, and still digging. They were trying to build the library themselves, we believe, and get the work done more quickly. But then we called on all the kids to join in at the Can You Dig It section, where every child in town was invited to bring their shovels to help dig in the ground where the new children's section of the library will be. And as the construction actually progresses, the public will be able to go to the town's homepage, and we're going to try to do it right now, and use the webcam to view the construction of the library over the next year and a half as it opens up in early 2012. And there's a current live shot of the site. The banner is still up, but the stage, festivities, and 250 library lovers are gone, waiting for it to open. If you close that screen and go to the next slide, I did want to highlight that following the program, we did have a retirement luncheon for Peggy Conaway, our librarian of the last 9 years, and we appreciate the council members who came and shared with us in this joyous send-off for our librarian who has served the town so well for the last 9 years. And that concludes this item of the staff report. And I'd now like to...
Wait, before you go to, don't tell me. No, before you go to the next segment, staff was just extraordinary in every way in planning and executing this event, but I really think that we need to pay special accolades to Pamela Jacobs, who was the point person on this. Attention to detail, creativity, flair, and just quality operations. So thank you, Pamela.
I couldn't concur more. It was a tremendous event, well executed, well programmed, and with nothing but kudos from those who attended. So thank you, Pamela.
Now you may proceed.
Great. We are now to the new section that we added this year called Did You Know? And presenting tonight's Did You Know will be Gwen Cross, Community Service Officer from the Police Department. Gwen?
Tonight we're going to talk about our Vacation Home Check program. The Vacation Home Check started the police department developed in 1995, shortly after we developed our volunteer and policing program. And the purpose of this program is to help the residents of Los Gatos and Monte Sereno to feel a little safer when they go away on vacation. So how the program works is that someone can check the website for the form, or they can call the police department, and they'll be asked certain questions such as, when you're going to be gone, from what date to what date, and do you have any cars in the driveway, anybody allowed to have access to your home, motion detectors, gardeners coming out, and so forth. And then our volunteer and policing patrol get this, and then on a daily basis they go and they check the homes. And basically what they do is they get out of their cars, walk around the home, check the doors and the windows, and if they see anything suspicious at all, like a broken window or an open door, they immediately go back to their car, call dispatch, and dispatch will send a police officer out to the location to do further investigation. This program has been very well accepted by the town and very popular. We probably have, during the busy season, which is Christmas, and during the summer season, 25 vacation house checks at a time. And so it keeps our volunteers very busy. They have run across situations where there's been unauthorized people in the house, broken windows, that sort of thing. If they see newspapers laying in the front of the house, they will take that to the rear of the house to make sure that it looks like someone is home. And we also feel it's a great deterrent, such as if there is someone out there casing a neighborhood and they see a police vehicle driving up and down the street, we feel that's a good deterrent that they're going to go elsewhere. It's been very well received, as I said, and we've had nothing but good reviews, and people call us on a yearly basis when they go on vacation. So if you'd like any more information about it, again, you can either call the police department or go to the website and go to the section where you can get the application and fill it out, and we'll check your house every day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Larson?
That concludes staff report.
Okay. Before we move to the consent items, I do want to remind people here this evening that if you want to speak on any item on tonight's agenda, it would be wise for you to fill out one of the speaker cards. Now would be good, and to turn them in over here to my left. Next, we have consent items, and these are items that can be taken with one motion. Unless somebody wants to pull a consent item and discuss it. Does anyone on council want to pull anything off of consent? No. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to pull an item off of consent? And is that not an item off of consent? Okay. So I will look for a motion, and I will tell you that I need to recuse on item number 9 since I'm on the board of the Housing Trust. So.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Next, we have verbal communications. This is an opportunity for anyone to speak on an item not on this evening's agenda. I have one card so far, and that is John Hogan. So if Mr. Hogan would like to come to the microphone, you have up to 3 minutes to tell us what's on your mind.
Great. Thank you very much, Council. My name is John Hogan, and I reside at 1 Masol Court in Los Gatos. And I'm here today just to announce the successful launch of Teen Force, which is a new nonprofit program in town designed to develop youth through work skills training and on-the-job work experience. I've been working on the project for over a year and have hired 4 teens who've been working with me directly for the past 6 weeks to develop the new business, which has essentially become a nonprofit teen temporary staffing agency. We've painted the office, installed the tech platform, developed policies and procedures and contracts for businesses and residences to engage us. We've interviewed and put 30 teens into our candidate pipeline so far. These are teens that are looking for summer job opportunities and opportunities in through the school year. Today, not only did we have the library groundbreaking, which was great, but we also placed our first teens in temporary jobs, so we kind of our official launch to get the program started. So we're very pleased. Thank you for that. So we've got 2 teens placed with a local mortgage company, and that company is going to take 2 more later this week, and maybe a few more the week after that. And so they'll take up to 8 teens all throughout the summer. So we're thrilled with that. As we put the program together, we worked closely throughout the year with the Youth Commission. Chief Seaman helped us, worked with some of the town staff, school superintendents, high school principals, and staff. And so we've had great support with the program. We also been in close touch with a Place for Teens, and we think the program fits well with them. It also seems to fit well with some of the items called out in the general plan about youth development, so we're pleased with that. Basically, just wanted to keep you informed of our progress, let you know that we'll report back maybe at the end of the summer to let you know how the program's continuing to develop. And at the right time, maybe the town will keep us in mind to fill any temporary staffing needs that the town might have. You could be a customer. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak under verbal communication? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to public hearings. The first public hearing is agenda item number 14, the always exciting abatement of hazardous vegetation, brush.
Thank you, Mayor. However, you stole my thunder there. As the mayor stated, this is a very exciting item that we take on annually, the annual brush abatement. This is a long-standing program that's run cooperatively between the town and Santa Clara County Fire. And representing Santa Clara County Fire this evening is Wayne Hokinson in the back. This is a program where essentially if private property owners do not take care of their own brush abatement, at some point it becomes the responsibility of the town, and we contract through County Fire to take care of the work. So there are 2 opportunities for the private property owners to address that. One is prior to the county inspections, which begin in April, and that's when the county then begins their inspection period. And then when the county actually shows up to do the work, if the private property owners have taken care of it, then it's all good. The county moves on, and no harm, no foul. So the first round of inspections have yielded 12 parcels in the town that County Fire has identified for abatement. And if the property owners do not address that on those 12 properties, it will be taken care of by County Fire. At this point, we have not heard from any of the 12 owners and have not received any written or verbal protests. That concludes our report going into the public hearing.
Thank you. And all joking aside, this is actually really very important. I live in a high-risk area, and with all the rain that we had this year, vegetation is going wild, which means it's going to dry out, which means fire danger is going to be higher than usual. Of course, in a drought year, you always say it dries out more, and it's high danger, so no matter what happens, we're in a high-danger area for a wildfire, so it's good to have this taken care of. Does council have any questions before I open the public hearing? Okay, I will go ahead and open the public hearing. I have no cards and no one coming forward, so I will close the public hearing and look for a motion. Vice Mayor Przinsky.
Madam Mayor, thank you. I'll move to overrule objections, although there are none, and order hazardous vegetation abatement brush.
And any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 15. This is lighting and landscaping assessment districts, and we have a series of resolutions before us. Mr. Caperso, you're doing the staff report also?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, Mayor. This item is to reaffirm our annual fees for our 2 landscape and lighting districts, which are made up of 6 assessment zones. On page 3 of the council report, you can see in a little bit more detail what the 6 zones are, the number of parcels in those zones, and what the associated fees are per parcel in each of the zones. The purpose of this hearing is to hear any and all protests by any of the property owners. I should say that all property owners have been notified of the annual fees and are hereby given the opportunity to come forward and protest, and to date, we have received none on this issue either. So if we move forward, we would continue with these parcels that you see on page 3. I should also note to you that the 5th zone listed there, the Hillbrook zone, was recently raised, as you will recall, this last spring from, I believe, $50 on, though I may have that number wrong, but it was about $50 to $175. So even at that level, it remains fairly low, but we did make some commitments at the staff level that we will revisit those issues with that neighborhood over the next 6 months. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Then I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. I have no cards and no one coming forward, so I will close the public hearing. Mr. Martello, do we need individual motions for these series of resolutions, or can one motion take care of them all?
You can take one motion focusing on the staff recommendations on page 2 of your staff report.
Thank you. Looking for that motion. Mrs. Spector.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I was going to do them collectively. I'm going to move to adopt the resolutions confirming the diagram and assessment and levying and authorizing collection of assessments for landscape and lighting districts. Number 1, Blackwell Drive. Number 1, Kennedy Meadows Benefit Zone. Number 1, Santa Rosa Heights Benefit Zone. Number 1, Vasona Heights Benefit Zone. Number 1, Hillbrook Drive Benefit Zone. And District Number 2, Gemini Court Benefit Zone.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And it passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to our last public hearing item this evening. This is agenda item number 16, which is to consider a request for approval to modify a conditional use permit to operate an existing restaurant, Manresa, with full alcohol beverage service. We do have a desk item on this report, and we will begin with a staff report by Jennifer Savage.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Manresa Restaurant operates at the subject property located at 320 Village Lane on the southeast side of Village Lane, approximately 450 feet south of Highway 9. Commercial uses are located to the north, south, and west. A town parking lot is located to the east, beyond which are residential and office uses. The existing CUP allows beer and wine service in conjunction with meal service. The applicant is requesting approval to modify the CUP to allow full alcoholic beverage service. In addition to the change in alcoholic beverage service, the conditional use permit modification will result in a reduction of the number of seats from a maximum of 112 seats to a maximum of 84 seats. The CUP modification will enhance the services of an existing established restaurant. The maximum hours of operation will remain the same, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week. Staff believes the project meets the requirements and intent of the alcoholic beverage policy. On May 12, 2010, the Planning Commission considered the application and recommended approval. The town's general plan states an applicant's project description and/or promises should become conditions of the project approval. Staff offers 2 revised conditions and 3 additional conditions to more clearly condition the project based on the applicant's letter of justification. These conditions are included in your desk item this evening. The revised conditions remove the reference to the letter of justification and clarify when and what type of alcoholic beverage service is allowed. The additional conditions clarify the limitation of the lounge area and retail sales. If council finds merit with these conditions, they may be included as part of the motion. This concludes staff presentation, and staff is available for any questions.
Thank you. Do we have questions of staff at this time? Mr. Rice.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly on the new conditions on retail. Sale of beer and wine for off-site consumption is allowed? Is that what's intended?
That's correct. It is part of their ABC license for the on-site consumption of beer, wine, and liquor. It's automatically included in that ABC license.
If I may follow up, it was a question we had as well that we pursued with community development staff, and indeed the ABC has two licenses, 41 and 47, and probably the most common example is when you go into a restaurant, have a meal, order a bottle of wine, do not consume the entire bottle of wine. You are allowed legally under 41 and 47 to take that bottle of wine with you off premises. Those sections still require a complete beverage or meal service for the license, so it cannot be what's called a package store, which is a separate license, which is your traditional alcohol store, or liquor store as they're often called. So this is the same condition that exists for virtually every other restaurant with a full alcohol license.
Thank you.
Mr. Wasserman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The third new condition, no retail space is allowed within the restaurant. What's the origin of that condition?
That's to help distinguish that the structure should not be used as a liquor store or store that sells beverages, so that the retail sales that is allowed by their alcoholic beverage control license is limited to situations where someone wants to bring home a bottle they didn't finish or wants to purchase a bottle that they liked during their use of the restaurant.
Okay, if I may follow up, please.
Yes.
The first sentence, no retail space is allowed within the restaurant. The second one says sale of beer and wine for off-site consumption is allowed. Isn't that considered a retail sale?
I'm sorry, no retail space, no space within the restaurant dedicated to retail use only should be allowed.
Okay, and if I may follow up, is that something that the ABC license provides for, or is that something we're saying that, I don't think that's the town saying we don't want retail there, correct?
It's not saying that we don't want retail there, but it is intended by staff to limit the use of the structure.
Why?
Mr. Larson.
If I may add, that space could at some point become entirely a retail. However, the approval of this conditional use permit with the full alcohol service is not for a retail use of alcohol except as associated with meal service. So the only retail that's allowed under license 47 is with a meal service, or as Jennifer mentioned, if somebody's dined, like their bottle of wine, and they're willing to pay restaurant prices for another bottle of wine, but there can be no space devoted to the retail sale of beer or wine for off-premises use, such as a wine display with price tags saying, buy a bottle and take it home. It's to prevent any getting around the package store requirements of the ABC.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Spector.
Well, I want to thank Mr. Rice for raising the issue because I hadn't seen it. So now I need clarification. My understanding was that the staff's objective with these conditions is to preclude the sale of beer and wine as a retail item. And as I understood the town manager, it would allow, if I buy a bottle of wine with my meal, I don't finish it, I am allowed to take my wine home. But as I read this last condition, it says no retail space is allowed within the restaurant. I understand that to mean I can't set up beer and wine in shelves and sell it. But the last sentence says sale of beer and wine for off-site consumption is allowed. I find that confusing. Are you saying that not only can I bring home the bottle of wine that I didn't finish with my meal, but I could buy beer and wine additionally? It's not making sense to me.
Mr. Martello, you look like you were eager to speak.
Well, I think we're all on the same page, because we discussed this before when we saw the desk item, and perhaps that last condition could be rephrased slightly. No retail space is allowed within the restaurant for the sale of beer and wine. However, the sale of beer and wine for off-site consumption is allowed consistent with the resident license, meaning that, I mean, what we're trying to get to is we don't want to, staff didn't want to create a loophole when they recognize that you're allowed to take that half bottle of wine home. They didn't want to create a loophole. They wanted to plug it by saying no retail space in the store. But that's creating confusion. So I think we can reword that slightly to make it more understandable.
And are you thinking that you would be working on that wording as we go through the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Brzezinski?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I don't find this confusing. I think it's fairly standard at fine dining restaurants that, particularly a restaurant that has an extensive wine selection, that the individuals who come for the dining experience are very interested in the wines that they sample, many of which are probably first-time opportunities for them. And, you know, I guess at a certain point in time, knowing that this happens at all other fine dining restaurants who have this ABC license, I would find it odd that we would suddenly be confused by this, because it is such a standard in the environment. I think we need to look back at what's the intent. And I guess the intent is a concern that people will walk out of Manresa with a couple of bottles of $40 wine and sit out there on a bus stop and drink it. Highly unusual experience, but I guess that's what we're concerned about, okay? I'd like to bring this back to kind of the reality that that's not the environment we're looking at here. And so I would appreciate if the staff attempted to clarify the language, but the language right now is probably more simple than it needs to be, and we should attempt to make sure we understand what exactly the intent of the language is.
Could I suggest that staff continue to work on some language over there? We go ahead and open the public hearing, get some public input, and then we can return to this during the discussion portion? Is that suitable for everyone? Okay, why don't we go ahead and do that? We will go ahead and open the public hearing portion. Begin with the applicant. I'm not sure who's going to be speaking for the applicant. Is that you? Okay. And are you Jeff by any chance? Okay.
I'm Jeff Morales. I'm the beverage director at Manresa Restaurant, and I do not have a further presentation beyond what has been already presented.
Okay. You have up to 10 minutes if you like, and if you don't want to use that or you just want to entertain questions, that's fine too. It's entirely up to you.
That's what I'd like to do. I'd like to entertain questions. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Let's see if you have any. Okay. Do we have questions for the applicant? Well, that was easy, huh?
Thank you.
Okay. Great. Thank you. We do have one other card, Greg Snow. And Mr. Snow, you get up to 3 minutes to convey your thoughts.
Thank you. I'm a business neighbor of Manresa, and I think the town is very fortunate to have a restaurant of that caliber in town. And if this conditional use permit will enhance the offerings of that restaurant, and I think it would add to the usefulness of having such a high-profile restaurant in town, and we're very pleased to have them as a neighbor, and they've shown nothing but respect for us. And I think it'd be nice to have a restaurant where we could take business clients and neighbors to have full service. So I'm just speaking in favor of the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snow. I have no other cards. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing portion. We're back to council for discussion. Mr. Larson.
And I did want to offer one additional clarification, as I've seen Jennifer and Michael writing furiously and they're comparing notes. I did want to clarify that the license the restaurant currently has is a Code 41 under the ABC. It allows the same limited sort of off-sale of beer and wine that would be under 47, license 47 that they're requesting tonight. The only difference between the two licenses is the 47 allows them to sell hard alcohol, as it's euphemistic called, on the premises, not for off sale. So there is no change to the restaurant use in terms of its limited off-saling, off-premises sale of beer and wine.
Okay, so do we have language to propose?
Yes, you could either just drop the condition, because I think it's probably taken care of, or I have this alternative wording. No retail space is allowed within the restaurant, provided that the sale of beer and wine to restaurant patrons which may be consumed off-site is allowed, consistent with their ABC license for a restaurant use.
So we have questions or comments or motions from council? Anyone? Mr. Brzezinski.
Madam Mayor, I think I will move to adopt the findings supporting the conditional use permit. They're noted on attachment 1 of the council report, and this is the modification. And if we get that, then we'll move to the next motion, okay?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. With the change from the attorney, I don't know if we need to recognize the desk item at this time with the 3 new items.
I think that's conditions of approval.
It's the second part.
Okay. No questions?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Then I will move to approve the application subject to the recommended conditions of approval, so noted in attachment 2, with the inclusion of the desk item that was submitted to us today, and with the new language as proposed by the attorney and the manager.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Well, that item is concluded. The agenda is concluded. Council is concluded for summer break. We'll see you in August. Thank you.